guys, here we go. Let's talk about glazing our bowls. So if you have letters in your bowl from pasta noodles, you are probably going to want to use a dark color like black to bring out those letters. So what I'm going to do first on mine is I'm going to paint on some black with a paintbrush. I'm just focusing on those areas where the letters are engraved in. I'm pressing the bristles of the brush into the letters, and once I do so, I'm going to let that glaze dry. It's very important that the glaze is completely dry before you do this next step. Okay, next step is I'm taking a damp sponge and I'm actually washing the glaze off of the raised surface. Now you'll see that the black is going onto the sponge, so I keep turning the sponge to a clean area. Once I don't have any more clean areas, I'm going to rinse the sponge off. I can just dip it into some clean water, squeeze all the excess water off, and then I'm going to continue to wash off the raised surface. Since the black glaze is dry inside of the letters, it actually will stay there as long as I am not pressing too hard. Okay, so I keep washing until I have it as clean as I'd like it to be. A little bit of black might still stick around. It just gives it a bit of an antique look, I guess you could say. The more you work with it though, the cleaner you can get that raised surface. Almost done here. You can see it's looking more and more white. And you know, I can add another color over top of the white area still, so I don't have to have white showing. White is just the color of the clay, but I can choose to put another color on next, and I am going to do that. I am going to put some yellow glaze on top of the area around the letters. But instead of just using a paintbrush, I'm going to use a sponge for this. So with a clean and, you know, almost dry sponge, you'll see in just a second, I'm gonna dip that sponge into the lid of my yellow glaze, not getting too much on it, and I'm just gonna carefully sponge that color on around the letters. Now, if I get the yellow on the letters, it may kind of cover up some of the black letter and it won't be as contrasting. So I am going to be careful, and I'm going to try just to put the yellow on the raised surface, which is not where the letters are. Now, one of the big rules about glazing is that glaze needs to be applied with 2 to 3 coats of glaze. So if I'm just sponging on a little bit of glaze, that is not 2 to 3 coats of glaze. I'm going to need to put a clear coat over these sponged areas. Clear transparent is a perfect example of how glaze colors change when fired in the kiln. The clear transparent glaze that I'm going to demonstrate for you that we have here at school is actually pink. It's pink in the jar, and it's going to be pink even when it dries, when painted on your bowl. It'll only change color once fired in the kiln. What the clear transparent glaze does is it gives just a clear, see-through, shiny coat. So it's almost like putting a casing of glass on your pottery. Okay, so here's the clear transparent. You can see it's here in a styrofoam bowl. I'm just gonna brush that on. I'm gonna give it a nice generous coat, and then I'm just gonna let that dry. Okay, now that that's done, I can start glazing the rest of my bowl. So 2 to 3 coats of glaze is how much we need, and we do not glaze the bottom. So choosing any colors you want, you can walk from table to table, apply 1 coat, let it dry, and then apply a 2nd coat. A 3rd coat, if you have time, is always best, but not everyone will have time for 3. In between coats, in between colors, just let it dry. Try to work, front to back or, side to side, so that you are constantly flipping and moving the bowl around so that you're not wasting time in the classroom. When you're all finished glazing, check the bottom of your bowl. Make sure it's clean. If it's not, use a clean sponge and just wipe off some of the glaze from the bottom. And then you're going to put your finished bowl on the clay cart so that it can be moved into the kiln to be fired. Please be responsible as you're glazing today. You're allowed to move about from table to table to use the colors that you choose, but just use a brush that is already dirtied with that color and don't cross-contaminate. Check the glaze chart to see what colors the glazes will turn to once fired, and make sure you're applying 2 to 3 coats. You can see on the samples that the top of each sample has only 1 coat, the middle has 2 coats, and the bottom has 3. If you want your bowl to be shiny and food safe, make sure to use 2 to 3 generous coats. Lastly, a quick reminder that the colors will change in the kiln, so what you see now is not what you will get. So I painted using the true black, the brilliant red, the 2 different shades of orange, fire orange and vivid orange, and canary yellow. My bowl, when I am done firing it, will be shiny and will be the bright colors you see on the samples.